Hi, everyone. Is everyone able to hear me okay? Sorry, I realized I was on mute. Okay, Jackie's giving me the thumbs up. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Erin Acosta, and I'm an Energy Corps intern with the Network for Sustainable Tomorrow. We're joined tonight by Adam Flint, who's our Director of Clean Energy Programs, Eli Conlin, who's our Sustainable Energy Fellow, as well as seven other Energy Corps interns. You could go to the next slide, please. Thanks. So before we get into the program today, I'll let you know a little bit about NEST. So we are the Network for Sustainable Tomorrow, a nonprofit community-based network of programs working towards social, environmental, and economic justice and equity in this region. NEST catalyzes and convenes new initiatives and partnerships, and we also focus on outreach and education to build a stronger and more resilient Southern Tier. So as you can see from the slide here, we do have a variety of different programs, but today we're going to be focusing on HeatSmart Southern Tier. So this is just an overview of what our presentation today will look like. So we're going to start with some details about HeatSmart Southern Tier, why you should participate in HeatSmart, as well as the technologies used in these programs, namely weatherization and heat pump technologies. Then we're going to go over incentives and financing for HeatSmart, as well as steps for participating. Then we're also going to give an overview of our new community solar project, and we'll also have time for some questions at the end, but also feel free to drop any questions that come up in the chat as well. So what is HeatSmart Southern Tier? So it is a NYSERDA-funded community outreach program, with NYSERDA being the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. And it connects you to local clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency experts. So we aim to educate the public about sustainable heating and cooling systems through workshops, webinars like this one, and tabling events. So this graphic gives you an overview of where we are now in terms of greenhouse gases in New York State. So as you can see, heating and cooling buildings takes up 32% of these greenhouse gases. So we're aiming to reduce this proportion by moving away from fossil fuels and connecting people with renewable energy options instead. So there are a lot of benefits of HeatSmart Southern Tier. So for you, it'll allow you to reduce your energy costs, as well as improve your home comfort and safety. And then for your community, it allows you to reduce overall greenhouse gas emissions and increase awareness in programs like HeatSmart. And there's also the possibility for grant funds for your community through Clean Energy Communities. So Clean Energy Communities is another NYSERDA program that encourages municipalities to be more sustainable in exchange for rewards. So if communities implement green improvements, such as signing up for heat pumps or for solar energy, that can translate to points. And then those points allow you eventually to get financial awards from the state. So something that we can do is help you find if there is a Clean Energy Communities program in your municipality. So the HeatSmart Southern Tier program covers weatherization, which is the process of protecting your home against the elements and improving its energy efficiency, as well as ground source heat pumps, air source heat pumps, and heat pump water heaters. So this graphic shows HeatSmart Southern Tier's competitively selected partners, which are all NYSERDA approved. So as you can see, we have some focusing on air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, and then one focused on overall home performance and efficiency. So we have some on the call tonight, and we would be happy to connect you with some of our installer partners after the presentation today. So now I'm going to pass it over to Joe, who's going to talk a little bit about weatherization.
So, sorry about that. So yes, first step if you choose to participate in the HeatSmart program is weatherization. Weatherization is the practice of protecting a building and its interior from the elements and modifying a building to reduce its energy consumption and be more energy efficient. If you were to get a heat pump, it's important to ensure that your home is properly insulated first, because heat pumps just work better in properly insulated homes. Next slide, please. So here we have a graphic showing why having a properly insulated home is key to energy efficiency. Leaks tend to occur in areas of a home where insulation is lacking, which is why having a tighter seal around your home will save you from using and spending more on your energy bill. The arrows throughout this house depict the most common places where there's air leakage. Warm air often leaks out of your home through ducts and spaces in your attic, as you can see by the red arrows on the diagram up the top. Outdoor air can also leak into your home through vents and spaces in your basement, shown by the blue arrows. Weatherization combats both these issues of air leakage. So if you have any concerns about temperature regulation, ventilation, air quality, or are dealing with moisture problems in your home, it might be a good idea to look into weatherization. Next, please. So what are the benefits of weatherization? Some of the big ones we have here are increasing home safety and comfort. If your home is properly weatherized, it will reduce drafts, improve humidity control, improve indoor air quality, and reduce the risk of ice dams. Weatherization will also help reduce your energy consumption and costs, another big one. With a tightly sealed home, there's a lower chance that any heat will leak out of your home, and that unwanted cool air will infiltrate it. Overall, weatherization makes your home more comfortable to live in and more energy efficient. So, heat pumps. Heat pumps are an alternative system for heating and cooling your home. While traditional systems use fossil fuels, such as furnaces, heat pumps use electricity and offer a more sustainable way to heat and cool your home. So you might be wondering, how does it do that? The graphic here provides a visual of how heat flows through this type of system. And if you have a refrigerator or air conditioner in your home, you already have this type of technology and you might not even realize it. So there's heat all around us in the air and in the ground, even during the winter. Heat pumps transfer heat into a space or out of it instead of burning fossil fuels to produce new heat. A heat pump uses technology similar to, like I said, a refrigerator and air conditioner. It extracts heat from a source, such as the surrounding air, geothermal energy stored in the ground, or nearby sources of water, or even waste heat from a factory. It then amplifies and transfers the heat to where it's needed in your home. Next slide, please. So there are three main types of heat pumps that we will be covering here. That'd be ground source, air source, and heat pump water heaters. Ground source heat pumps, as well as heat pump water heaters, can be used to heat domestic hot water too, which we'll get into more in just a bit. So, ground source heat pumps. Ground source heat pumps are also known as geothermal, if you're familiar with that term as well. Usually about 6 feet below the ground, you have a very stable temperature, and geothermal systems circulate fluid in pipes below the ground, and they do that to transfer the warm energy from the ground into that fluid. Heat is then concentrated through electricity and compression, and then circulated through your home. During the winter months, it works in reverse, and it transfers the warm air in your home back into the ground through the same methods. As you can see, there are two different types of closed-loop ground source heat pumps. You have horizontal loops, seen on the left, and you have vertical loops, seen on the right. Generally speaking, the horizontal loops are more common, simply because it's more affordable to install, because there's obviously less digging, because the coils are closer to the surface. To know what type is best for you and your home, it's important to get an energy assessment first. Next slide, please. So we have some of the benefits of ground source heat pumps. There are many of them, but some of the big ones are the positive effect on the environment, your energy bill, and your home. The system's also very efficient in heating and cooling your home, which means that there's lower energy bills. Yay. It's long lasting. It removes fossil fuels from your homes, and it can heat water in addition to heating your home. Next slide, please. All right, next we have air source heat pumps. The other type of heat pumps are air source heat pumps, and those work similarly to ground source, but they take heat from the air and pump it into your home. They're typically a ductless system, and they don't require underground pipes like the ground source heat pumps do. It allows for quick and easy installation relatively. Air source heat pumps consist of one outdoor unit usually, which is then linked to more units inside your home. These units come in various styles, as you can see here on the pictures we provided. It's meant to basically fit the aesthetic and cost preferences of your project. They operate similarly to an air conditioning unit. However, they can also run in reverse to provide heat. Next slide, please. So, benefits of air source heat pumps. Similar to ground source heat pumps, this type of system allows for energy savings, which I know is a big one for people. They're also very flexible because you don't have to replace your entire heating system if you don't want to. It allows for zone control in your home. So that also you can get just 1 or 2 heat pumps and then use them for a couple of rooms, for example. This can also allow you to have air conditioning without ductwork and to maintain different temperatures in the different rooms in your home. You can also get a full heating system replacement if you'd like. It's just not necessary always. Lastly, these heat pumps are known to be very quiet, which is another awesome thing about them. All right, and then we'll come up on the heat pump water heaters. So heat pump technology that we've been discussing can also be used to heat your water. Heat pump water heaters are basically an electric water heater with an air source heat pump on top. They use indoor air to heat the water and usually have a backup system to meet high demands if, say, you have a lot of people who take hot showers at the same time in your household. Next slide, please. So now I will pass it off to Jackie to discuss the incentives and financing with you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jackie. Thank you, Joe, for covering all the technologies. But we can jump right into it. Let's start first by looking at the financial rebates for all of these technologies. So these rebates basically take off of the project cost. It's not money that you get back after putting out for it, but things that will basically just be paid for by either NYSEG or the state instead of you. So as you can see in the NYSEG column, they offer 3 rebates for air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, and heat pump water heaters for different amounts. And as long as your improvement qualifies with their criteria. So all of the competitively selected partners that we have are all NYSERDA approved, and they will help you. Well, they'll make sure that your project qualifies for this, so that's not anything you have to worry about. But there's also the New York State rebates. So if you are a low income, if your household is making less than 80% of the average median income, you qualify for the low income rebate. So you can get 100% off up to $8,000 for your air source heat pump installation, and you can also get 100% off for your water heater. But even if you make more than 80% of the area median income, you may still qualify for the moderate income and get 50% rebate on your project costs. And we will talk about how to know if you qualify later on. But there's also tax credits that are offered for these programs. So the IRS offers 30% off, not 30% off, 30% tax credit for weatherization or your insulation, air source, ground source, and heat pump water heaters. So you can get 30% of the project costs for any of these can go towards your federal taxes. And then for ground source heat pumps, you may also be able to get some tax credit through the state as well. They can give you 25%. Okay, so now into financing. So it's very common that people can't pay the cost all up front of these projects. It is a big, it can be, a good investment, but that is why NYSERDA offers 2 different loans for residents. So one of them is the Smart Energy Loan. So this NYSERDA can loan you up to $25,000 in terms of 5, 10, or 15 years with different interests. And they also offer the on-bill recovery loan, which is pretty much the same thing as the Smart Energy Loan, except this is paid directly on your utility bill instead of a separate bill. You can also look into the manufacturer if you want to finance through them. Sometimes they offer different loans that can be up to 20 years, and you can also go through your local bank. So one of the income qualified programs you mentioned is called Empower in Tier 1. This is the 100% off rebate. You can install heat pumps and get weatherization for 100% off. And this is if you qualify for the low income rebate. And yeah, there's a little chart on the side that you can look into, see how many people live in your house, and then what your annual income is going to be. And if it's less than that number, you probably qualify. But there's also a link that we will mention. Yeah, it's in the chat now. We can go to the next one. Thank you. So the Empower and Tier 3 is the rebate for moderate income. So this is 50% off your project cost. And here's another chart of an example. If you have 4 people in your home and you have less than $87,000 yearly income coming in, then you probably qualify for 50% off. And the link that was just sent in the chat is the same one I have up here. I put a screenshot in so you can see what will come up. Basically, you just put in your county and the number of people living in your home, and it'll give you the exact numbers if you qualify for the low income incentive or the moderate income incentive. Okay, so after all of this information, if you're still interested in doing any type of this work or getting this stuff installed, the first step that you would take is to get a home energy audit. So the residential energy audit, this does not include diagnostic testing, but it is free for everyone. And the full energy audit is diagnostic testing. So it's got your infrared cameras, blower doors, and things like that to get a more in-depth understanding. And this would be done by one of our installer partners. For the residential energy audit, they could just come into your home and see, like, look at your doors and things that need to be sealed, or if there needs to be more insulation, where things could be installed. And the full energy audit is the more in-depth one. So this one does have a fee, but it can be free as long as you go through with the project if you are low to moderate income. So just to go over those steps once again, you would first sign up for your home energy assessment or your own through from the HeatSmart Southern Tier installer. You can always email us. There's a chance we can sign you up tonight to get in contact with the right people that service your area and your project that you'd like to do. The next thing you would do is receive a quote for your energy improvements. Then you would apply for those incentives and financing and sign your contract for the desired systems, and then you can get your work done. So yeah, we'll give a chance for everyone to give their emails if they'd like to stay in contact, but we can quickly mention our community solar project and some other incentives. So Nest is partnering with a nonprofit energy company on a new community solar project in the Southern Tier. So community solar is basically for anyone who can't put solar panels on their own home, but wants to invest in, or not invest, but wants to participate in cleaner energy. This is a great solution for you. So any renters, this is a great project too. You can basically pre-enroll with us and get your name, get a spot on our list basically, and subscribe to offsite solar production of energy. Yeah, so we can go to the next one. Yeah, the benefits of this, the big one is that you can save 20% off of your NYSEG bill, and there's no fees to join or leave, and you would be supporting locally produced renewable energy and green jobs, which is like too good to be true. But it's we promise. The project is starting very soon. And you can pre-enroll today to save your spot as long as you pay your own NYSEG bill and you are, I believe, low to moderate income based on your county. So there's another one of those charts. All right, and then we just have 2 more slides before we can get to our Q&A. We just wanted to let everyone know that there's also incentives to upgrade your electric panel and your electric wiring in your home. So there's low income and moderate income rebates through the state. There's also a higher income rebate for the electric wiring, and there's also tax credits available for the electric panel. And finally, our electric vehicles. If you're purchasing a new electric vehicle, you can get up to $7,500 in tax credit. And then if you're purchasing a used electric vehicle, you can get 30% tax credit up to $4,000, as long as it's the first resale of the vehicle. Yeah, and I can pass it off to Adam to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Jackie. Yeah, if you have a question, you can either put it in the chat or raise your hand, and I think you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Dennis, I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear you. So I'm wondering if you're trying to ask a question while on mute or just talking to somebody in the house. No? Okay, my bad. Well, I'm going to ask a question while folks are thinking about what they want to ask. Jess, could you talk a little bit about what the process is like once you receive contact information from a customer?
So when I receive contact information from a customer, I generally try to reach out within the first day or two of getting that information. I will go over income information and exactly what we're looking for as far as income. And, at that point is when I can pre-qualify you for one of the programs. If I'm able to do that, I can get the application to the customer fairly quickly. And there's a couple of different ways. There is an online application that I have a link I can send. There's also a PDF version for somebody who is more comfortable mailing the application back. There's 2 different options too, as far as mailing the application back. It can either go directly to the state if you don't want to disclose income information to us directly, or it can come to me. Just know that if it comes to me, I'm able to get it processed quicker, where there is a little bit of a lag time when it goes through the mail to the state. Once the application is approved and assigned to me, I have a set amount of time from NYSERDA to accept the customer as our customer. And then it's a matter of me reaching out to the customer to sign them up for the site visit and get the other information I need. We really try to get these done in a timely fashion. However, if there is subcontractors involved, it can be a little bit of a process. We try and make it as easy as possible, and we're always here if there's ever any questions.
Thanks very much, Jess. There was a question that went just to me in the chat asking if these programs are available in Schoharie County. These programs are available when they say state, anywhere in New York State. Where they say NYSEG, every major investor-owned utility has these programs. The difference is that there are variations in terms of how much money they have left in their pot, and sometimes the amounts as well. So if you are a NYSEG customer, these numbers are good for you wherever you are in the state. And the federal numbers are good for you wherever you live in the United States. So I'm going to lob a question over to Kevin at NP Environmental. You just heard from Jess from the Insulation Man. Kevin, can you talk? Basically, it's the same question I just asked of Jess, except for heat pumps. How does that process, what does that look like from the beginning to not necessarily the end, but to the point at which the customer needs to make a decision one way or another?
Sure. So for us, when we receive your information or you call into our office, uh, Trisha from our office would initiate contact with you and schedule a time for a upfront phone call to work through a series of survey questions with you. That's when we discuss any income qualification, details about your home, what it is, what type of technology you might be interested in, whether it be air source heat pump water heaters, or geothermal. If your home needs insulation attention as well, or if it's all set already, and just some upfront information so that we can kind of tailor our services the way it is best fitted for you. From there, you get passed over to either myself or the owner, Nick, and we follow up to discuss a time for an on-site assessment with you. We come out and meet in person with you and go through the home assessment process, which is touring the home, looking at the mechanicals, evaluating the insulation if necessary, certainly the mechanicals, the distribution, whether it be ducted or hot water based. Um, and yeah, basically collecting all the information, working with you to get your feedback and input on uh, what type of design aspects may be necessary or best fitted to offer the proper solution for you and your home. We take that information back and turn around a proposal to you to give you the costs, the information, the proposed system that we work up, answer any questions you have, and leave the decision to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Kevin. Any other questions? So while we're waiting for other questions, I just want to recognize we have some folks on the webinar who are involved directly in the Clean Energy Communities program. We have Shenango County Planning, and my guess that's Allison and or Shane behind that seal. And then from Delaware County, the Climate Energy, oh boy, Clean Energy Communities Coordinator for Delaware County, Christina Zill. So thank you very much for joining. Kevin, I just saw you unmute. Did you want to add anything? Maybe I didn't. No? Okay. So I'll actually kick it over to the rest of my team and see
Adam,
if there's other questions that you'd like to ask.
There's a question in the chat. There's a question from Leilani about heat pumps.
Oh, Adam, I think
Sorry,
you're
I
on
was
mute.
talking to myself. Kevin, did you want to field that question from Leilani?
To the best I can, I really I don't work with Lennox equipment, so I can't speak to their performance. I can say that the LG and Mitsubishi equipment that I work with, the lowest rating that they're currently offering for them is -13. I think they're supposed to be coming out with lower ratings, but I will say that the performance that we've recorded, especially this last winter, while overall mild, we had two very, very cold weekends, and the heat pumps certainly exceeded expectations based on the feedback that I got from our customer base. Did some follow-ups and some check-ins on especially on the households that I knew didn't have any other sort of backup sources, and they did fine over those -20, -30 weekends. Not to promise that the equipment will always perform better than it's rated to, but we have seen that on a lot of systems.
So I realized that we had a bit of a snafu with the Zoom webinars. or the Zoom links, for which I apologize. We will be sending out the slides to everyone who registered. So that obviously includes all of you. I'll mention also that I have a geothermal system in my own home that's about a decade old now. My house has what's called a hydronic system, which means that it's heated with hot water, in this case, running through baseboards. The trick with these kinds of systems is because the geothermal system does not heat the water as hot as fossil fuels. You have to supplement the amount of heat coming from that source. And that's typically done by the same units that you have to put in to create air conditioning, because obviously you can't air condition through baseboards. So we have air handlers in various rooms that provide additional heat at this time of year and air conditioning during the warmer months. Also recently got, and this was installed by NP, a air source water, or a heat pump hot water heater, excuse me. So I've had some experience with that. And I see something popping up in the chat. No, that's not something I need to answer in this group. All right, last call for any questions or any additions that anyone wants to make. If either of our installer partners that are here with us tonight have something they want to add, or anyone else?
I'm just going to actually make one small correction for the residential energy audit program. The NYSERDA programs redid that, so it is now the same process and the same software modeling program as the actual program audits. So since it's all the same now, even the residential energy audits will include the diagnostic testing with the audit for free.
Thanks very much, Jess, and we'll get that corrected on the slides before they go out. Question came to me, Kevin, I think this one's for you. Can you give a sense of the price range for I mean, I got an 80 gallon, but 50 gallon is more typical, heat pump water heater, with the tax credits included and without? Obviously, you can't predict people's tax appetite, but you can make that estimate.
Our average cost right now for a 50-gallon heat pump water heater, and there's I'll say that the variables that go into this are things like, well, basically, what's your existing system? If your existing system is like an electric tank, we've already got the properly sized circuit there, as long as it was sized properly from the start. And basically 2 pipes to work with. We have to figure out a drain for condensation, and that's about it. If you have an indirect tank that's heated by a boiler zone, there's a lot more to decommission there. It requires a new electric circuit. There's some added costs, but overall, the average cost for a 50-gallon heat pump water heater is going to be about $4,500. There's a $700 NYSEG rebate available, knocking it down to $3,800. And the 30% up to $2,000 25C tax credit for $3,800 works out to be $1,140, I believe. I did that math earlier today. So I don't have that subtraction math off the top of my head, but you're a little over $2,500 into that for a unit with a 10-year warranty and an expected or anticipated $100 for the year operating cost. So pretty good deal, pretty good technology to look into. There are some aspects that make that system not for every single household, but 95% of houses, that's a very good and very appropriate system for.
Yeah, in my case, it's kind of a perfect situation. It's in a semi-conditioned space next to a conditioned space in my basement. So I'm not losing too much of the heat that the geothermal system is providing. to the water heater, and I'm also getting some dehumidification. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's more difficult if you have a situation where it's completely unconditioned and it's really, really cold. It's going to have to work harder. It can do it, but it's going to have to work harder. And you'd also need sufficient space and airflow. Did I get that right, Kevin?
Right. So I believe there's a low level cutoff that because these are hybrid units, they have both heat pump heating elements or heat pump heating coil, as well as regular, like what you would find on an electric hot water heater tank backup elements. I want to say it's 42, 43 degrees is their low level cutoff, where if you're in a space colder than that, it's not going to use the heat pump. It's just going to use the electric. And then depending on the manufacturer, they say either 700 or 900 cubic feet of basically breathable air. So if you have a mechanical room, it would have to be, what would that be, 10 by 10 by 7 foot ceiling would kind of be the space required to place that unit in. Unconditioned or partially conditioned basements are normally okay. Even if it's totally unconditioned, a lot of them, kind of stay at that 50 degrees if they're sufficiently below grade and relatively sealed. So that's kind of what we look for. Small mechanical closets that are first floor and not really able to breathe, or situations like that are difficult to work with. And kind of the two disclaimers I throw out, I'll throw them right out there now. I tell this to everyone so that there's no surprises, is that it is a heat pump unit. So it's got a little compressor in it. It's an appliance. It makes a little bit of sound. It's got a nice little hum to it. It's kind of like the tone or the pitch of a refrigerator, but a little bit louder. And so there's ways to work around that. I try not to put them below bedrooms. There's also ways to program them to not make certain noises at certain times of day. So easy workarounds there. And then they do pull their heat from the air around them, so they discharge a colder air. That is, again, for 95% of areas or households, not a problem. The little bit that it may cool things down, it's actually a benefit. As it pulls heat, it also pulls moisture and helps dehumidify. But if that were a problem in a certain case, there's workarounds for that as well. So overall, I'd say even over 95% of households, they're a good solution for them.
Thanks, Kevin. Last call for questions before we wrap. All right. As you may see, there's an evaluation link for our event. I very much encourage you all to click on that, and I'll talk long enough so that you can and tell us how we did. Also, if you are interested in getting an assessment from one or more of the contractors we work with, two of whom are here with us today, but we have a few others. The first step is to go to our website at nynesc.org, and you go to the HeatSmart program and fill out the form there and tell us what it is you want. So you could get one assessment from one contractor, or you could get more than one. And also you could say, well, I'm interested in this or that or the other technology. And once we've got that, we have a way of pushing that directly from our database to the appropriate contractor. And as both Kevin and Jess mentioned, they're going to either themselves or have somebody that does that at their company reach out to you pretty quick. And once you've been able to get an on-site assessment, you'll get an estimate. And then at that point, you can decide if you want to go forward. The contractors are also very well versed in the various incentives and rebates. I will hasten to say, however, neither they nor ourselves can give official tax advice. So when you're dealing with tax credits, it's always a good idea to have a conversation with your tax professional. I find more and more accounting firms know their way around these incentives as they become more and more common over the years. So I haven't had any problem with that. For this last year, I claimed the somewhat lower credit that existed in 2022 for my water heater. So with that, I want to thank my team and the folks from our partners, as well as our CEC partners and our audience for taking the time tonight. And you can have 14 minutes back. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Adam.